Yo, what's up? Just doing a quick video letting people know what's going on with me, how I feel. I just left a Starbucks. I was at Starbucks this morning. Obviously, you go there, you could use the restroom. Coffee's relatively cheap. I go to Starbucks and they have the AC cranked on uncomfortably. Okay? I mean, it's freezing inside Starbucks. They do it to get rid of homeless people, but homeless people go there. I mean, anyone's welcome to go there. I don't understand it. I always purchase things. I buy things. I balance my money in that regard. But just the other day, there was a guy in there. He swiped their tip jar and fucking ran out the door. I mean, cranking the AC to prevent people from hanging out there when nobody cares if somebody hangs out there. The most of people who hang out there are people like me who are actually working or working towards something. It's like you can't use your home office, so you just kind of go there. Obviously, we dress, I dress in like layers because that's going to happen. But I'm just really angry right now. I'm disappointed. And I just want to see what the effects of one of these are on that. And so I'm not really going to be showing it on camera. And again, a lot of things I do, I don't know what the rules are. You hear certain things that you can or can't do on YouTube, things that you can or can't say. And I'm just kind of like, I see people who are based and pilled aplenty on YouTube. So they're really not restricting people who are based and pilled. They simply aren't. So this is a misnomer. So we're going to see how my attitude might change a little bit after being indulgent. Sorry. Trying to look spiffy. Sorry. Hello. I always do that. All right. So I'm going to do an attitude adjustment. And by the way, here in California, not only many of the body parts are fake, but a lot of the cannabis is also fake. It's really terrible. It's really bad. I just got something the other day, and it tasted like sage, or, it was almost like it was an incense. It was harsh. I don't know if there was any cannabinoid in it at all. But yeah, I was in a bad place, freezing my ass off, trying to work at a Starbucks. Now, a lot of people, they're working from home now, and what people don't understand, it's really tough to do. They're trying to push this whole work from home notion, but the fact is, when you're home, you psychologically identify with, hey, I'm off work. I don't have to do anything. I can sit back and relax. And so that's a tough habit to break. And so you have to go to places like Starbucks, and to make it uncomfortable intentionally for people to be there, I think it's pretty nasty business. I don't understand why most people aren't talking about this, but the fact is, I talk about things on my show that most people don't talk about. I give you a perspective that most people aren't. And I think, it's like grabbing a person from the equator area, right? I don't know, was it Tropic of Capricorn or Tropic of Cancer, beyond the international date line, and thrusting them into a situation with people who didn't come up in that area and expecting them to perform at peak performance. This doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So a lot of these notions that we have with regard to what people are within the realm of like 23andMe, what their background is, and then making all these enormous leaps and bounds with regard to their performance, I think it's pretty catastrophic. I think that's part of the problem with our society that we live in, that we have all these projections and that we groupthink, we put people in groups. I call them obsequious Philistines. They have to think that people belong to groups, right? You belong to a certain group. The only group that you belong to is your community group and your culture, the culture that you're relating to, the culture that you identify with. And my culture was punk rock, and that was it. And when I heard that, it's like, nowadays it's all about rap. Back in my day, I remember when rap didn't even exist. It never even existed. And so I just got one of these Fed phones from EBT. In case you guys don't know, I am homeless and I only eat off the EBT menu and I don't steal. So some days I starve, quite literally. And, I'm also starved for friendships, family ships, all of that stuff. And that leads to the degradation of the individual. I knew this when I wrote my book, Two-Legged Animal. I wrote that book in the 1990s. Okay. And if you don't have the support of your milieu, of your family, of your friends, you can really see when you look at certain people, you'll see that the most successful people have the support of their family. Every once in a while you'll hear like, well, I didn't, or I had to go on my way. But if they're from a family of renown, then you have to assume that other people know this, and that also, they call them Nepo babies now, but it also gives them a leg up, right? So, and again, these people could be any one of 31 flavors. That's what they used to call Baskin Robbins back in my day. 31 flavors. You could be from any background whatsoever. And because in the neighborhood I came up with, when they asked us where we're from, we couldn't say the Mediterranean. We couldn't say Mexico, right? Even though we looked just like people from those areas. Because we said we were Lumbee, boom, that was it. Like, nobody knows what that is. Still to this day. And again, coming into the future and being part of this revisionist future, we can see now, I can personally see, just from the research that I've done, that most of the people on the East Coast, these alleged Native Americans, are all mixed. They're all mixed, usually without exception. But the thing is, they don't know how far back it goes. It could go back 10,000 years. You don't know. You don't know who had ships. What we're suffering with is other people creating history for us, handing us a book, we read it, and then we parrot it, okay? Now, what I'm doing is I'm involving myself in the stories that I tell, in context, in contextualized within the historic realm that it took place. And what are you going to call me now? You're going to call me a narcissist, right? I mean, like, you can't win. You just can't win. All of a sudden, you're a narcissist. Well, you shouldn't be involving yourself in, right? You shouldn't be putting yourself into the story. Well, that's what I explained to you guys about gonzo journalism and stuff like that. And when I wrote Two-Legged Animal, I took it seriously. I don't care what anybody else thinks, says, feels, or does. I took it seriously, but I tried to obviously inject humor into that. So you can see with this left-handed cigarette cannabinoid that now that I have a buzz, my mind is going into such a better area. I'm feeling more creative. I got my creative juices flowing. I have something that's a little bit more interesting perspective to talk about, where before I lit this, I was in this really negative state. Like I said, coming from Starbucks, just one of the Starbucks, not the one around here, but that has the AC cranking, making it uncomfortable for people to be there. this is just all negative nonsense for no reason. And I'm finding like a lot of things in this society is just kind of like made up, and that we're parroting things that are handed to us. Right? I'm finding this a lot on Joe Rogan, like these guys that he interviews, they come on there and they have all these answers to things that happened beyond 10,000 years ago. I'm not finding that evidentiary. I'm just not finding any evidence in that whatsoever. It's all speculative, and it's all speculative based upon models. Okay? These models are created in order to explain things. But once you reach a certain age, you begin to use your discernment, and you can see things much more clearly. Now, don't forget, Socrates wasn't like an elderly man. He was an old man, allegedly, right? And they're like, hey, we got to get rid of you. Well, what was he saying? He was noticing, basically, it's one of the oldest stories, he was noticing the differences in culture. And he noticed the kids going to school and their quote-unquote teachers, he probably couldn't get any work, but, were teaching sophistry. They were teaching specious comments that sounded good, but, were evidentiarily false. They were part of a false model, and I believe that's what they were talking about then. I also believe that that's what's going on now. And those are the things that I'm interested in. When I'm on Wikipedia, it's to look up physics and stuff about electronics, and just basic information. And through that, I'm showing you guys through the orthogonal view, the orthogonal shape, it also leads into base pairs of your DNA. So this is getting into some pretty heady stuff. And again, I draw back because I don't know what I can say and what I can't say. I don't know what I can get away with, what I can't get away with on here. And it just seems to me like there's a set chosen few of based and red-pilled people who can talk about whatever they want. And then there's people like me. I'm in a post-black pill situation that really don't get the voice, we don't get the exposure that maybe we should. Like I said, I'm what was called a non-traditional actor in New York in the 1990s. There was no Vin Diesel. They didn't exist. There's other people. I can't think of the guy's name right now. Before Jack White, before Eminem, before Kid Rock. I was a kid from Detroit. I actually had a commercial playing nonstop regionally in New York City. This is unprecedented, man. It played for like 3 years, nonstop. That's how good the commercial was. I did it in 3 takes. There was nothing to it. I just did it. And again, it's not a performance that I'm, oh my God, look at my performance. Like, I didn't think about it. You're just living it in the moment and you're taking direction. And so when I was out on the streets of Las Vegas, just like I was talking about in this last video, when that was going down, I looked at my work like, like I'm a real writer, like I'm a real investigative journalist. And I find out that it's all people in the government. And this has been going on for the last 20 years, guys. Nonstop harassment, nonstop haranguing. And then in 2017, the people that I know were involved. The people that I showed you on my show, people in my band, my wife, and other people were all involved in this. And I was supposed to self-harm. That's how much they cranked up the Facebook app in 2017. I was losing my mind, quite literally. And the people behind this are Fed rats, the same people who targeted me out on the streets. And that's what they do, and that's where it comes from, and that's why they work symbiotically with these quote-unquote alleged gangs. Well, one can't exist without the other. They're in this symbiotic relationship where they're working off of each other. So, but anyways, that's just me rambling on, showing you the effects of cannabis, showing you that I actually feel better now, that I can actually think of more fun and interesting things, where before I was just kind of like dragged down into this like bad situation and just feeling down and out. I was really missing family, missing friends. You know, this is what I'm trying to tell you, man. It's just like, you know, in my family, they project the negativity of my father and how he treated them onto me. And this is all a projection. I told you guys before, in the '04 era, thanks to people like Bud Keach and people at, the lodge in Michigan, I was like, I understood things in a much more different manner. It's because of my age. You understand? And for them to continue to run ops after that, and to know that people that I know were involved, and also people who actually don't even effing know me. Wow. Yeah, we're going to see about you right here on my show. Stay tuned, guys. Thanks for watching.